Hi, I'm Sarah Ross from Elevation Solutions, and we're here today to talk a little bit about tracking recruiting efforts and enrollment outcomes, both in general and in today's climate. Most educational institutions can't rely on their traditional methods of tracking and also recruiting students when students can't come on campus for visits or campus tours. And so let's talk a little bit about how we can measure the success of the current recruiting season in different ways. So Nicole, let's talk a little bit about campus visits.
Absolutely. So campus visits are traditionally the most reliable indicator of whether or not a student is going to apply and ultimately enroll at an institution. And right now, traditional campus visits aren't possible. So this spring, universities haven't been able to rely on that data point as they typically would to determine whether or not students are going to apply and enroll and get a really good sense of what their numbers are going to be for the spring. There are some really great alternatives, such as virtual visits, videos of campus, either content that your marketing department already has, or even finding some live raw content that some students have posted on social media. So that's really great for prospective students to be able to see some more raw content about the institution.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are great ideas on how to engage the prospective students in different ways since they can't come on campus and get that campus feel, right? So let's also talk a little bit about other interactions and how you can measure those. Jillian?
Yeah, so I think everyone's goal, whether it's through campus visits or anything else that you're using to supplement, is to identify patterns and key indicators in your data so that your teams can know where to focus their efforts and to drive your predictions. So identifying actions that go beyond those in-person interactions that will contribute to the likelihood of a student reaching a desired outcome, whether that's applying, depositing, or enrolling. If you look at your enrollment class from the past few years and just remove those campus visits and those in-person meetings completely out of the equation, you may start to see some other patterns and indicators emerging. But ultimately, in order to be able to do that, regardless of the changes that we've been seeing this year, is you have to be tracking all touch points, all interactions throughout the entire recruitment cycle. You can't find patterns in your data unless you're storing and tracking the data. So you might be getting vendor files that have seemingly obscure data points, and you've probably said to yourself, well, I'm not going to load this into my CRM because we don't need this information right now. But if you're thinking long-term, loading every single interaction and every single data point is going to set you up in the future to be able to make effective predictive models, regardless if campus visits are part of your equation or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Gathering and inputting all that data really gives you insights. And like you said, you can uncover patterns that can help you in the future with measuring the success of recruiting. So let's also talk a little bit about leads and inquiries. Katie?
Yeah, so I guess, to challenge you to rethink the way leads are entered into your CRM. A lot of schools, they use an RFI or an inquiry form to collect lead information. But just think, you don't need a ton of data points to track and to communicate it with an interested student, meaning they don't need to fill out the full RFI to be entered into your CRM. So a lot of times schools will only load leads into the system, into their CRM, if they know things like student type and term and program. But if you have just an email address, that's all you really need to get that lead into your system, into your CRM, and to start sending emails. If you have their basic contact information, like an email address and their name, then it's up to you to nurture and to qualify that student through sending email campaigns or journeys or outbound messages. And to start to nurture, to qualify that lead, to gain those extra data points like their term and their program and all of that other information. But if you stop and don't load leads, even if you have an email address, you may be missing out on prospective students that you could have connected with and nurtured and got them to move forward in their admissions process.
Thank you, Katie. Some great ideas, team, on how to navigate this current recruiting season and measure your success when you kind of don't have all of the traditional typical indicators that you can look to. So I hope you guys learned some great information, and you will join us next time for our next chat. Thanks.